Up and down the Saints training camp roster, there are a bunch of second-year players that the franchise is counting on being better in year two than they were in their rookie season. And through the first 6 practices, wide receiver Raheed Shaheed has not disappointed. Here's Garland Gillen.
I'm definitely grateful to be, at this point.
A year ago, Raheed Shaheed entered Saints training camp an undrafted rookie, a long shot to make the squad. Fast forward to this season, Shaheed is considered one of the top receivers on the black and gold and will be a big part of the offense.
The speed of the game is kind of coming to me a lot differently. Slowing down, I feel more comfortable within the system and where I'm supposed to be at and when I'm supposed to be at. And the timing with Derek is just going to improve as long as camp goes on. And just keep making strides at that. And as far as my route running, I feel like I can run the whole route tree, but of course improvement is always, each and every day I look for something to get better at. So I'm excited to continue to work, and all the little things will come together.
Add in a healthy Michael Thomas, a second year of Chris Olave, the Saints wide receiver room could put up some big numbers in 2023.
It's exciting. It gives the fans something to be excited about as well. We just plan to get better every day, make each other better, hold each other accountable, just so on Sundays it makes it easy. And I hope to make their jobs easier too.
In his rookie season, Shaheed only had 3 touchdowns, 1 on the ground and 2 through the air. In year 2, look for those numbers to go up exponentially. In Metairie, Garland Gillen, Fox 8, Local First.
Garland, thank you. Some notes from today's workout, which Dennis Allen decided to flip the script. Practice began outside today, and then they moved inside the practice facility for the majority of the workout. What a day for the tight end group. They were dominant on offense with a number of guys like Juwan Johnson, Foster Morrow, and Jesse James coming up with big catches. James's catch came off a throw from rookie quarterback Jake Haener, who continues to have a solid camp. And speaking of QBs, Taysom Hill continues to get work with the second string, splitting snaps with Jameis Winston. And defensive back Troy Pride left practice with an apparent arm injury. I also should mention Andrews Pete set out today after injuring his quad in yesterday's practice.